Guys, I'm so excited for today's podcast. Welcome to the Limitless Ones. I have my friend on, Troy Brown, and Troy has an exciting story. He's been an Ifbb pro and he's transitioned into a new life. Troy, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm just like you, full of life, and really grateful to be on this journey with you, but also from a spiritual standpoint. I'm honored to be on your podcast, and hopefully I can share some jewels of wisdom with people that are listening.
Yeah, and I know you will. I've known Troy for a while now, and I'm grateful to call you a friend. And I've been watching you for a long time on social media and seeing you transition. I've transitioned out of bodybuilding. You were a lot more successful at it than me. And I feel like we're on somewhat of the same spiritual journey and same physical identity journey of finding ourselves and kind of transforming ourselves back. And I see what you're doing for your clients and stuff. So I'm excited. And I know there's going to be so much value in this podcast. And there's going to be people that watch this from the fitness community that know your whole story. There's going to be a lot of entrepreneurial people watching this that don't know your story. So just let's fill them in. Let's not go back. Let's just tell them who you are, what you do. And then I'm going to go back and tell the story. So just give them an idea about Apex training and all the stuff that you guys do.
Do you want to know sort of the beginning of the story?
No. We'll go back to that. Just tell the people what it is that you do. You're a health and fitness coach and what Jasmine does with you guys and the Apex training and the coaching that you guys do.
Yeah, online. We're primarily online. We do obviously a little bit of one-to-one with people that are in the community. We're really sort of trying to spread the word of health and fitness in the community. But primarily, I would say 80% of our business is online, Apex. And we were originally in the physique world, and we sort of transitioned into gen population. I feel that's where we can really do our best work. And we're not just, handing people diets and training programs. We're more about the holistic approach. And I think that's where we're really trying to sort of get the clientele to focus more on there's more than just transformation and weight loss and muscle building. It's more about the holistic side of your personality. And that's what we're really trying to do, is trying to make human beings better. I think that's our objective, is to sort of throw that pebble in the pond and really allow these people to be, better human beings. And then that way they can pass it on to their families. As I always say, sort of each one, teach one.
I absolutely love it. And I think that's so important that you're able to tie the spiritual world and the overall lifestyle, not just make it just about technical stuff like the training, because it's all tied together. How you feel about yourself, how you interact as a person, and how you connect to the people in the circle around you. And the health and fitness that you guys are teaching is the foundation of a great life. And those skills and characteristics that you build are carried over into everything else you do. So the message is great. And the work that you guys are doing is just awesome. But the most exciting part for me is I want to learn a little bit more about your story. And I know that you came up in England. I knew you turned pro. You won the British Grand Prix. Was it the British, or what was it that you turned pro? Because I know Flex Wheeler, I think, won after you, and it was the same. Didn't you turn pro? See, this is a huge deal, man. And I'm excited about this because I want to go back and hear about, coming up. I think you played soccer a bit and stuff. So give us the rundown, the story from coming up as a young boy to where you're at now. Because the bodybuilding career was huge for you. Like, you won the same show that Dorian Yates won and turned pro at, the same one Flex. Like, this is a fucking huge achievement, right? And you've transitioned out of that smoothly, and we'll talk more about that. But give us the rundown, Troy's life coming up to where you're at now. Just a quick story.
Yeah, quick story. Basically, played soccer, obsessed with it as a kid. Wanted to play professional. When I focus on something, I tend to go all in with it. I have that sort of addictive personality. So turned professional as a soccer player, and thought my life was going to be on the TV, and I was going to help my dad, and he was going to be really grateful for me being this pro bodybuilder, pro soccer player. And that sort of fell short. Got released as a soccer player. And being that I was very, very lightweight and was basically sent on loan to a lower league division team. And then they put me on a special diet, got me lifting weights. And then I found a new passion, which was weight training. Ended up putting on 20 pounds of muscle in about 4 months. And I ended up leaving football and quitting. And my dad was devastated. I think it was bragging rights for him in the pub. And really started getting into weight training. And then that was when that started in 1994 when I was 17. And then started working in the gyms and started cleaning equipment and became a gym instructor in England. And then from there, started basically weight training, really took it seriously. Went to the Mecca in 1999 in California. And that's when it really started, the bug for bodybuilding. And then I did my first show, I think 3 years later. And then ever since then, it was just a progression of trying to get better. But I was naturally a very, very light guy in the beginning. And then from there, I think I ended up doing about 49 shows in total.
Wow.
And turned pro in 2006. I won the nationals and got my pro card. Same thing happened. You know, I thought all this status was going to come, and I was going to help my family and be able to, you know, help them, provide for them financially. And that didn't really pan out either. I moved to Canada trying to better my career as a professional, because that's where most of the sponsorship and endorsements were. So I left England. And Flex Lewis did the same thing, I believe, a year later. So, and that didn't really work out the way I would have wanted, but everything happens for a reason and a purpose, and it serves us. And, you know, here I am today. I went back in 2015, got injured, which was a blessing in disguise, tore my pec, tricep, and really found that bodybuilding, even though it's still somewhat part of who I am, it's sort of I'm afraid to say, every year when Olympia is happening, that's when I kind of get the itch, you know, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you know how it is. I think bodybuilding is such a part of who we are. And I think I've really had a tough time trying to change the identity. And then it didn't happen till last year, and being completely open and transparent, had a a year ago, actually. It was probably rock bottom moment in my life. And then I just decided to shut everything down, and I found God, basically, and just been on this spiritual journey really ever since. The spiritual side's always been there, but I've always found that bodybuilding, even though I still love it, I'm a huge fan like everybody else. I found for me it was really affecting my ego and my self-esteem, and I really wanted to be a better human being, and I had to let it go. And that's when I got into the fasting and my prayer work. And like you, I pray every single day. I do my breath work every single morning. I meditate probably once, twice a day. I'm not saying that to impress anybody. Being that anxiety is very rampant in our family, I found that the finding God and you know, reading my Bible every single morning has really kept the anxiety at bay. And I pray every single day too. But I think just wanting to be a better human and be a really good role model for people that do follow my content and my material. And but it's not all, you know, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. There's been a lot of tough times, and like yourself, you've been through a lot of tough times throughout this pandemic that we've all been a part of. And I really think if you have faith in some type of whoever your spiritual, you know, being you tend to, you know, pray to, it really help you in tough moments and really give you the courage that you need. I think that's what I think this pandemic has really given us. You can either adapt or die, or you can, you know, have some faith, and the faith will really pull you through in those tough moments. And that's what it's really done for me. And I'm on this spiritual journey along with my partner Jasmine. We have a therapist that we speak to every week, and we're really just trying to not just be the example to our clients, but just to be really good, true human beings that we all need to do. I think we need to switch now. I think there's a spiritual awakening that's happening on the planet right now,
100%.
and I can feel it. And I think we're all starting to attract one another, and I think we can all impact one another if we all come together collectively, even though that sounds cliche. Don't know if that's helped, if that's giving you the Cliff Notes version, if you will.
It's beautiful what you just said for a few reasons, because both of you and I come from a background of bodybuilding, which is kind of intimidating to a lot of people. It's hardcore. There's performance enhancements involved. You're training until your fucking nose bleeds, and you're grunting and you're screaming and you're posing in the mirror, to transition into, bro, I feel so connected to you right now, just because and I'm really excited to get inside your head about the transition for you, because you were at a more of elite level than me, and I think even more committed to it than I was. And for you to be taking the journey, I feel like I'm doing the exact same thing as you, because having a 270-pound physique was my identity. People treated me differently, and when I really broke it down and looked at it, it was just frail little weak kid that was just trying to build up a big fortress around his ego that would just gain respect and repel people away from challenging me. And that was really the gist of what drove me so hard, was desperately trying to find something that I could excel at, be proud of, but also was just building this physique and was just becoming weaker internally. I was this strong being on the outside, but I was weakening myself internally because I wasn't going inwards. I was just working on the outside. So I feel really connected to you, and I'm excited for us to continue that conversation. There's two things I want to talk about. One, the mindset of trying to become an IFBB pro, and then the mindset, which I think is way more difficult, of doing the work that you're doing right now, of trying to leave that behind and go on to the next thing. Of basically what you're doing is serving other people. And before you tell me those two things, the last couple of years, I think you and I have been on a similar journey. It has been very hard. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of worry with the entrepreneurial world. And I keep leaning back that about 5 years ago, I decided that I wanted to become the greatest human and man that I could be. And I put this into the universe that I want to be well-spoken. I want to be financially sound. I want to be healthy, and I want to help people. And I want to become that type of, I like to call myself Uncle Rhino, right? Like people can come and lean on me, and I'm going to be here for you. And I want to be that strong figure. Well, you just can't be that person. You got to eat shit for a little while before you become that. So when you tell the universe you want to become a great human, it's going to kick you in the fucking face every day until you figure it out, until you get strong enough, because you can't be great without some type of obstacle. So I think we're both on that journey right now, and I fucking welcome it, because I know on the other side of it is happiness, and there's strength in there. And I think the community in our world needs more masculine, but also empathetic and sympathetic, strong type men, right? And you're a very good example. So let's talk about the mindset of becoming a fucking pro bodybuilder, man, because that's not an easy thing to do.
Well, what you said was just phenomenal. What you just said, by the way. But in regards to being, I think, a pro athlete, you have to be obsessed. I think you can't mess around. You got to be all in. And as you know, bodybuilding is 7 days a week, 365. There's really no break, and it consumes you. And you have to be a selfish person. You have to be. And for the person that's really got this balanced lifestyle, I take my hat off to them who are professional athletes. So and it's physically tough, not just physically on the body, but also on the mind. But I think in the beginning and for the first 15 years, I absolutely loved it. I think that being that maybe genetically I didn't have the genetics as a Flex Wheeler or Ronnie Coleman, but I knew that just through hard work and the love and the passion for something, I could do very, very well at it. But I think the belief in the beginning wasn't really there, and I didn't really want to be a pro. I just immersed myself in that energy. I think if you immerse yourself in anything, you're going to excel at it. So I think being a professional bodybuilder, if anybody wants to be that and that's their calling and that's their purpose, you have to be all in. But at the same time, you got to have your values. If I could start all over again, I think values and having really working on purpose and really knowing what my core values are as a man would have really allowed me maybe to go a little bit further with it. But at the same time, if I could turn back the clock, would I have done it? Maybe, maybe not. But it's brought me to this point right now, and it's made me the man I am today. And I also believe, being a fan of the sport too, that it's there's so many positive things that it can do in terms of discipline. And I think that's important. I think we do need more discipline in terms of like nutritional formatting and getting up every single day bright and early, and every single day is a groundhog day when it comes to the sport. But it's a tough sport. I really believe, honestly, it's one of the most toughest sports that you can do, because there's no break, and it's the only sport where you're getting ready for something, for a competition, and you're in a calorie deficit, so you don't feel optimal. You really don't, even though you might appear optimal when the cameras are on you and you see your pictures and you're in your 3% body fat, but you do feel like death warmed up, so to speak. It's hard. It's really, really hard. And I look back at it and I think to myself, number one, how did I lift those enormous amount of weight? And number two, I just got sick and tired of eating.
It's ridiculous.
The food's unbelievable, the amount of food you have to consume. So now I only eat 1-2 times a day. And my energy level, as soon as I started fasting, and I know fasting's not for everybody, but as soon as I started fasting, my energy levels just went completely through the roof. And I started to think differently and become more creative. And that's when things started to really, really turn around for Jasmine and I. So yeah, bodybuilding it's an interesting sport, and I look at it now and I'm sort of out of it, and I kind of look at it and go in there now and again and see how people are doing. And there's still a lot of my friends that are still involved heavily in the sport. And you know, they're doing their thing, and I take my hat off to them, you know.
Yeah, you know what I love? I love bodybuilding when someone that you have to have the right genetics for it, and you have to. I notice all the great bodybuilders not doing only do they have good genetics, they have a calm state. Like I've heard stories of people saying that like they've seen Phil Heath take a nap backstage before the Olympia, like that he kind of like would just because they're just calm people. They're not like they don't get all worked up. Their cortisol's low. And I was the total opposite. I had subpar genetics, and I would be so fucking anxious. I was like sweating cortisol out of my body before I would go out onto stage. And if you don't have it, it's one of those sports, you could have the biggest heart, the biggest work ethic, be so full of passion, like to the point where if you applied that to anything else, you would be number one in the world. But if you don't have the right bone structure, you don't have the ability to absorb those PEDs and utilize nutrition and stimulate the muscle and grow, you could be the hardest worker in the room and still not excel at it, you know? And that's heartbreaking to see a man work that hard. The only thing that's good about it, if you don't become successful, is what you just said, the work ethic, the skill sets, the characteristics that you build. I would like to think that it has set me up for a successful life. And I think you too, just out of the good characters and skill sets that we got out of it. Right. And that's what I will try to take away from bodybuilding. And I will always be a fan mostly of the 90s because of the posing and the dryness and the roundness of the physiques. I think it peaked at that point. And then it's kind of gone in the wrong direction. But I'll always, same as you, I like to keep up on it. I like to watch it, but it's just not for me anymore. And I know where my work is to do now. And it's just not in bodybuilding anymore, you know?
Yeah. Do you think it's maybe social media has maybe portrayed it in a different light? Do you think, Brian?
Well, I think that the hardest thing about bodybuilding, bro, is that it's not about your performance, it's your physique. So tell me, let's just back up for a sec. How many times were you at dinner or at lunch and you would walk in the bathroom and you like pull your shirt up to see what your abs looked like coming into a show? Because you're like, and like, oh, I looked awesome 2 hours ago, but now I look like shit, right? So I think that there's this thing where people are trying to promote themselves on social media. And I also think that it's such an egotistical side because it's not how you value yourself. It's just based on how does my physique look? So you can be doing everything right and your physique just doesn't look compared. So I think that that's where now people are, they're just, well, I'll eat harder. I'll take more insulin. I'll take more drugs. I'll do more, whatever. And they're just throwing all the wrong things. And I think that's what's ruining bodybuilding is it's a whole together. It's just people are trying to become, you take work ethic and someone with a big heart and they don't have the best genetics, they're going to do whatever they have to do to become the best. And I think that's really, it just comes down to most people that come into bodybuilding come in, they're a little bit broken, they're a little bit damaged, not everybody, and they're just trying to become a good human. They're applying themselves to something and they're going to do whatever they can to be their best. And sometimes those tools that they're using are making them worse than making them better. And I think that's the problem in bodybuilding.
100%. I completely agree with you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was, I actually was sexually abused as a kid. So I really did it as also, when I look back now, I think it was more of a shield. It was an armor of protection, building this physique, building this muscle that no man could ever take advantage of me ever again. And doing all this inner work and working with a therapist, it's made me really realize that it was an armor, it was a shield. And even though I'm still trying to change this identity, you still can easily get pulled back in that because it's such a deep-rooted paradigm. And as you know, our paradigm is a multitude of habits that are deep-rooted in our subconscious mind. So it's very, very hard for us to change. But if you've got the right people around you and you've got the right significant other to support you and to pull you up when you're down and you feel as though you want to go back into that energy again, because it's like an energy. Bodybuilding is like, when you go into it, it's like a vortex. And when it pulls you in, you know, it's so hard to get back out of it. And then once the drugs take hold of you, your brain chemistry changes. And, you know, and I'm not here to bash bodybuilding at all, because it's made me the person I am today. And I'm grateful, you know, that I was able to do it and do pretty well at it. And, but at the same time, it's an energy and most people don't understand it. And when you get in it, it's, you don't really realize, you know, what you're doing and your environment does change. So we're in a position, I think we're so similar, Ryan. It's like a breath of fresh air speaking to you, because we're both, on the same path, really, of wanting to become better human beings.
Yeah, well, this is the most exciting podcast I've done, and I'm getting emotional right now, man, because I feel like we are kind of on the same path. And I've been following you for a while, and I've been wanting to communicate. And I know you took a break from social media for a while, but I always watch your stuff because I knew that we were kind of heading in the same direction. And just from reading your posts, I felt so resonated to it. And from the first time I met you, you just have a gentleman energy, even though you're a strong aura of a man and very masculine. You just have an energy that I would like to emulate, and you're somebody that I would aspire to be like, right? So I feel like we are on the same energy, and I hope that even after this podcast, I get to come out and maybe we'll train in the gym you're setting in there or something like that. I get a workout in.
Yeah, I'm in the basement right now. In the basement, but yeah, it is. It's emotional when you really understand like what you've done, but also how you're trying to change and how you're trying to make some shifts. And I think it all goes back to something that I when I took a break, it was for me just to really work on my faith and to go back to the foundation, to go back to the essence of who we are, and to, because I really felt going through bodybuilding, I kind of put that aside, and I kind of swept it away from me, swept it under the carpet. And now it's about, okay, I need that resource, I need that faith to want to become better, because as soon as you tell the universe, like you said earlier, that you want to become this, ultimate version of yourself, that's when the adversity comes and really kicks you in the butt, i.e. COVID as an example.
100%. And it's just one thing after the other, before we jump into the part that I'm most excited about, which is the mindset, I feel like we're both still in the middle of it, is coming out of bodybuilding and transitioning into being a healthy man, being a strong man, doing the spiritual work. I shared your post the other day, by the way, which was what you put up about like a shout out to all the men doing the spiritual work to kind of break through the paradigm that we've been told is what we have to be strong men. And I think this is where we're challenged at. So before we go into that, I'd like to say anybody that is watching this, if you do feel like you're struggling with something, it's very important to start listening to podcasts, following people, and asking for help as well, because it's okay to struggle with things in your past, and to have bad energy, and to have anxiety, and to suffer with depression, or be lost and not know where it is that you're going on your journey. And I do it on a regular basis. I consider myself a very strong human and a very strong man, but I'm still practicing to try to break through all this stuff. And I know you are as well. So I encourage you to do that. Let's talk about the mindset of coming out of bodybuilding. I feel like you're still in it. I feel like it's like I'm still in it, right? Because I'm even rebuilding my training program, where now I'm doing a little bit more functional stuff, more mobility, trying to become pain-free, but I still like to pump my quads and arms up. I can't seem to fucking stop. Like, I just like, you know what I mean? Like, it's still part of my identity. Like, I'm working with one of our trainers at Athletic Culture, who is a kinesiologist. He's got a great background in biology and physiology, and he's actually a power lifter, but he's very functional and he's pain-free. And I want to be like that. I don't want to be 60 years old and be all fucked up. I have arthritis in my shoulders. I want to be like, if Troy says, let's jump on the paddleboard and go for 2 hours, I want to be able to paddleboard for 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have fun. I want to be able to swim. I want to wake up in the morning, not have shoulder pain because I slept on my side. But I still, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still at the point where I'm addicted to having a certain look. And I think I always will. I know that I want to look somewhat like a bodybuilder. I want to have shaped legs and have a nice silhouette. Is that something you think I'll just have for the rest of my life? Like, do you feel that way, where you find yourself like you're doing the fasting, you don't care about being big anymore, but you still want your body to look a certain way? Or have you been able to put it behind where you don't care about how you look as long as you're healthy and you feel good,
Man, this is such a good conversation. I battle with it every day, honestly, Ryan. I really do. I think you mentioned something so key: pain-free and being able to move. We've spent many years, right? We've both been 270, and we've spent many years not being able to move properly, not being able to sleep properly, always in pain. I think pain is something that we're just used to every single day, and we walk around our daily lives in pain all the time. And being able just to run, being able to sprint, being able to stretch and be able to do yoga and to do normal things, to be functional. I think that's something that we both aspire to. And it's funny because you're in a gym environment and you got to train, and you do your core stability and your stability work. You do You work on scapular mobility and hip mobility, and then that little itch says, okay, I want to go in the gym and lift some and get a good pump and train some arms, do some chest, and that's great. And I think that will always be a part of us. And I think that's where training and phases comes into play. Maybe we can make a program one day. Side note,
I would love that.
Right? So
I'm down.
I think. Yeah, I think having a physique, I think having a physique is something that maybe both will always have, but I think wanting to have decent internal, external rotation of the shoulder, both of our shoulders are both beat up, especially my right one. But I'll still go in there and crank out, heavy side laterals. And even today, I was working out today and I was just thinking, okay, I've got to do my core. I've got to work on, I've got to do some stretching and mobilization and some SMR work. But that's still that itch there that wants to go in and go lift heavy and do some heavy deadlift. And I just can't do it anymore. So there's a saying that comes to my mind right now, and I've said it before, you don't change things by fighting existing reality. To change something, you build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. So it's like
that.
Shit or get off the pot. You have to make a shift but it's hard. It's really, really hard to change. But I think that's maybe where mentorship comes into play. Maybe someone that's been where you are, that if you're trying to make that shift, maybe you need some coaching to pull you out of that energy. And I think guys like you and I, Ryan, maybe finding that, going into that energy, tapping into some different energy where you're always in that bodybuilding competitive energy. And it is very competitive and it's ego. And I always say ego is edging God out. And I think that you got to go back to roots. You got to go back to the foundation. And I think if any man's watching this podcast right now, what are your values? Like, what are your true core values? And I mean, sometimes it's going to mean shutting down social media and taking a look, getting a bird's eye view of what you're doing day to day, and ask yourself, is it really, really serving me? And is it really what I want to do for the next 5 to 10 years? So whatever your values are, it's going to mean you're going to have to take time to think. And my old mentor used to say, if you knew what people were thinking, you would be speechless. Most of us don't think. And honestly, in my bodybuilding career, I never really sat down and put pen to paper and actually really thought about my life. And it's not till I'm in my 40s that I've actually started to really, really think. So that would be one huge thing that I would give to someone, is to really put pen to paper and sit down and think, and being okay with meditating. I think so many men I speak with and clients, they go, I don't want to meditate, my mind won't stop racing. But that's the whole idea, is if your mind races, don't judge it. Let it go, forgive yourself, and just get back to breath. But I think we're in a world where we're just microwave society, instant gratification. Things are flying at us from 100 miles an hour. Social media is in our face. And I think for me, that has suffered with depression and anxiety, taking breaks has been the best thing that's really helped me. As soon as I came off social media, it was quiet and it felt so good. So I've done, in the last year, I took the first, I think, 10 weeks off, and then I took another 9 weeks off, and I'll do it again if I need to. So it's important. It's important. And you start to really give back to your relationships and your family, the people that are really there with you through your day to day,
Yeah, 100%, dude. Like, it's, there's a couple things in there that I want to break down. One is the social media thing. See, like for me right now, I'm handling it well, but as you know, I'm launching this new company called Kalani today. I have my RH brand, which is, I'm looking at getting into public speaking and mentoring entrepreneurs as well, and helping other people figure out exactly the direction of their business. And then I'm running this Athletic Culture in a Pandemic, which is a multi-million-dollar facility. And there's a lot of money on the line, and there's 45 employees, and I'm in charge of the social media and the marketing and driving traffic. Like, literally, it's not even an option for me to step away from it right now. Right. And I'm okay with that, because I'm able to take my 2 hours in the morning that I told you about, my hour at night, which grounds me. And I have an amazing relationship with my girlfriend. I have a great relationship with my parents. I'm healthy right now, as far as I know, and I'm just grateful to be doing it. And I know I'm headed in a direction where I want my life to go. And this is just the storm that I'm in. And I try my best to remind myself my thing I say to myself every morning. I say, Ryan, remember, you must die. Let that determine what you do, what you say, and what you think today. And then I say, the things that bother you will not matter when you are gone. So smile today, laugh today, and enjoy today. And then I go on from there. And it just puts me in perspective so quick, because if I knew I was going to die in 2 weeks, why would I even fucking care? Why wouldn't
Absolutely.
why would I even fucking care? And I just have to go through this right now. And internally, so there's like all this storm going on, but internally I'm pretty at peace. I get shaken up throughout the day, but I can get back to center, you know? And I just wanted to, a little bit off topic, but just to let you know how fucked up bodybuilding can be. I can remember being in my 20s after I did my first show. I used to cut the inside of my shirts and stitch the t-shirt to make the shirt tighter on my arms. Think about that. How fucked up that is. You know, I guess you could say I was a tailor, maybe, and make it sound a little bit not so fucked up, but like I was just so wanting to be. So when I see all the time people say, oh, did you see that guy over there? He's walking like this, and it's a younger guy. And I look at him and I like, that's just somebody trying to be great. They're just trying to build up their physique, and they're just a lost young man that haven't found who they are yet. And I don't judge them for that. They're just trying to be great. It's not even an ego thing. It's just they're lost, right? And the best part of what you said, Troy, was making a list and looking at your values of who you want to be. 5 years ago, I went to Maui, Hawaii. I was still competing in bodybuilding. I wasn't healthy. My blood pressure was up. I had arthritis in my shoulders, tendonitis in my quadricep and patellar tendons. Was training with Bob at the time, Bob Witherall, you know Bob, and was starting, my physique was coming together, but everything was deteriorating on me, and I was lost, and I didn't know the direction I wanted to go in. And I was sitting on the beach and the ocean was hitting me. And I had this thought where I just fast forwarded to 50. And what did my life look like? Well, I had kids and grandkids. I was a very wealthy man. I was an investor, a philanthropist. I was having all these experiences with my family, and I had homes all over the world, and I was doing good work, and I was a public speaker, and I was, you know, just helping people and being able to be such a stable human and a strong human that people needed me. And then I looked at what I was doing, and they did not line up at all. And I decided right then and there it was over. And I've never even had a thought of going back since then. Wow. I have the itch to look like a bodybuilder and train like a bodybuilder, but there is not a bone in my body that wants to put on a pair of trunks, shave my body, and put the oil on and get on stage. So that right there, exactly what you said, was exactly what happened to me. It was just, and it was all in one thought within 30 minutes of thinking, to like deciding, okay, this doesn't fucking line up.
Yeah, you had an emotional impact. And I think there's two ways to change. I think number one, emotional impact, meaning something maybe somewhat traumatic happens or forced repetition, right? That's how you change. And what you just said is, I think a lot of people that are in the sport physique world is, you said something earlier about genetics. If their genetics is going to allow them to excel and to get there, and is it really worth me putting myself, my health, and also my family through that pain? Because it's such a big sacrifice that you're doing to yourself and to your body. But I've been at that position, and I went back due to my ego, and we're in a former relationship that didn't work out, and I went back. I'll show you, how dare you leave me, and I'll go back to competing, and I'll show you. And it just wasn't the way I was supposed to go. It was something bigger and grander was going to happen for me, but I had to go through pain and suffering. And I believe also suffering is a good thing. You know, there's a thing that a couple of our clients that we talk about this in the gym is suffer well. Pain is actually a good thing, and it'll force you to do something about it. It will force you to take action. And I think suffering, I think that's probably why we gravitate to bodybuilding. Why we like to do the cold showers and the breath work, because there's a little bit of suffering, but there's a huge reward at the end of it. I'm trying to get more clients to do more contrast and cold showers, for lowering inflammation. And it's so uncomfortable, but that's the idea. Is it's going to get you uncomfortable, and that's what allows you to grow as physically and spiritually.
Being uncomfortable is the key to happiness, in my opinion. You cannot enjoy the sunshine without darkness. You cannot enjoy the sunshine without rain, and you can't enjoy heat without cold. So we're living in a society now where people are super sensitive. They don't challenge themselves. And I feel like, well, I read a quote the other day that said that something like 50 years ago, okay, so let me back up. 85% of people that seek out psychiatry help is because of human, it's not actually like a chemical problem. It's 85% of it is just trying to find the meaning of life. Why am I even living? Why should I be happy? And they're trying to find a reason to be happy. And those people 50 years ago actually went to a priest or a rabbi or like somebody like a mentor. And those people now go to psychiatrists, right? So people are damaged, man, and people are hurting, and they're trying to find a way to be happy. And I think that people just don't have a meaning to life anymore. They don't have a mission. They don't have a goal, and they don't have like, why is it that I'm even happy? And then I read after that article, it said you can't just laugh on command. You need to have a reason to laugh, just like you need to have a reason to be happy. And you can't, people all the time try to override the circuit board and say, I'm happy, I'm happy. And they do affirmations. I'm going to be happy. I'm trying to be happy. And it doesn't fucking work that way. Like, you need to do inner work, and you need to do things by giving back to people and having a purpose and finding, even in catastrophe, it lost a loved one or something. Well, I read a book the other day. It said, well, be thankful that you're the one bearing the pain and they're not the one that has to live without you being here and being alone. There's happiness in everything, right? So it's a tough
You
thing.
can find the good in it. You have to look for the good. I think anything traumatic and negative, you can actually, you really step back and analyze it, you can actually see the good and harvest the good. My old mentor would say, harvest the good and forgive all the rest.
I love it. I love it, and it's a choice, right? What you're going to focus on. Man, I'm really enjoying this conversation. This is the most organic podcast that I've participated in yet. And it breaks me to do this, but I want to ask you about something, which is your online training. When I first met you, I was doing one-on-one training. I think you and Jasmine were starting to participate in that. You guys were a little bit lost on if you wanted to do the online thing. And then I know you guys went, I think it was to Joe and Sarah or whatever it is, to do some work. And you got your brand, your following, your message, probably your financial world has been on an upward trajectory. And I want to congratulate you on that, first of all, and say how happy I am that you guys have found, the direction that you're going in. But there is a million other young people coming up behind you. There are trainers, fitness coaches that are lost right now. They're trying to make a living and they don't know how to make the transition. They don't know how to do it on their own. Let's talk a little bit about that, because that's been quite a journey for you. And I feel like you can give information to people to tell them about that transition. And I think the number one thing is, let's talk about finding that ideal customer and finding where you fit in the marketplace and how you transitioned over to that.
I think for Jasmine and I, and you probably can relate to this, we want to help everybody. We want to serve everybody. And I think when it comes to online, and it's an animal, it really is a beast of itself, it is understanding what would be your ideal client and putting that energy out there, trying to attract that individual. So we really spent a lot of hours and days really trying to get clear on who we're trying to attract and trying to serve. And it really hit us that obviously men in their 40s is sort of where I feel people sort of gravitate towards me. And Jasmine is sort of that, the women that are professional women that are trying to not necessarily improve their physique, but wanting to get healthy and to have all of the pillars, financial, spiritually, relationships, family. They want to get everything in alignment and have that word that's used a lot in our industry, have more balance. And I think with men, the men that I seem to attract are the men that really want to excel and to get better and have more energy, so that way they can do the things, they can work at a capacity where they can serve and do their best work. Professional men, entrepreneur men, that seems to the people that I've attracted. But in the beginning, it wasn't like that. So you really have to go through a storm and understand that you just have to keep working at it and to keep perfecting and to keep putting out the right message. And it takes time, and you've got to be okay with just being uncomfortable and be so patient. And I know that's hard to do sometimes as online coaches, because we see one coach that's doing one thing and they're successful. So what we do, we kind of go over and say, well, what's that person doing? And we can kind of sort of mimic what they're doing. And I think that we're all unique and we're all individual, and there's only one Ryan, there's only one Troy. So we have to go with that. But it's so hard to, it's so easy to go down and start gravitating towards other trainers to see what they're doing. Everyone paints this picture that we're successful and we've got, you know, things, everything where it needs to be. And sometimes it's not like that. It's not that way inclined. There's behind closed doors, there's a lot of turmoil and there's a lot of pain and suffering, but that's all part of your journey. One thing that I could give anybody that's up and coming that really wants to excel online and become a great coach is to take time out for yourself. And is to, I think you gave it away earlier, Ryan, taking time for stillness and to be present, because anxiety is very rampant. I've explained it, I've suffered with it. And I think taking time to get outside and breathe the air and to take time for stillness is so huge, because otherwise you're going to be focused either in the future or in the past. And we all know if we're living in the past, that causes depression. And if we're living in the future, that causes anxiety. And just 2 years ago, I was having heart palpitations because I was too far in front, living in the future. And I was in the hospital. I remember sitting in the hospital bed with the nurse. Jasmine was at the other end of the bed. And my heart rate went from 55 to like 190 in 10 seconds. I was having a panic attack. And it was because I was just too far living in the future. And I wasn't taking time out to be still, to give, to recognize the higher power, to understand that I had to sit down every day, every morning, and go back to the fundamentals, to the beginning, to the basics, the things that I grew up on that I put aside. So I think if you're watching and you really want to become a good online coach, is to take time, first of all, to find a mentor and don't rush at it. You have to do some maybe interviewing and see who you resonate with and be in it for a long time and let them be joint at the hip with that mentor and hold hands with them and let them pull you up. Because if it were easy, everybody would be making 6 and 7 figures online. It's not easy, but I tell you what, it's worth it. It's worth it because you have to go out there and take the eyes off yourself and put them on other people. And that's sometimes hard to do if you are from a previous world of physique building. It's all about you and look at me, look at me, look at me, look at my physique, look at my work, look what I've achieved. And that's great, but you have to take your eyes off yourself and put them on other people. You really do. You have to go out there with a service heart. And I think what Jasmine and I really do is we are heart-centered coaching, but we focus on habit change. We focus on changing people's paradigms. And that is hard to do. It could take 6 months, it could take a year, it could take 2 years in order to change paradigms. Because as we mentioned earlier, with this bodybuilding game, 1 minute you're out of it and then you suck back in. 1 minute you're out of it and you suck back in again. And that's because our paradigm is hard to change. It's a multitude of habits that are deep rooted. And the older you are, the deeper the roots are. But you can override it. You truly can if you've got the right tools. So you've got to seek out counsel to find out what those tools are. And it may mean that you have to invest. You've spent thousands of dollars on coaching. I have too. And we just want to become better. And I think that's our goal, right? Is to become better coaches.
Bro, there's a few things we really need to jump into that's gold in that, what you just said. But before we do that, 2 years ago, I thought I was having heart attacks too. And it was because I was I was worrying about trying to create my future and create athletic culture. Actually, to the point where same thing, where I thought I was taking a heart attack one day and it was just a panic attack. And I have the same doctor as like Fuad, Abiyad, and Regan and all them, Dr. Khan. I've been with him for a while and he's the best. He's taken such good care of me. And he sent me, for stress tests and ultrasounds and, calcium scoring. And we've done everything. And the cardiologist said, your heart's perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong. Like your heart beats perfect. They even made me wear a Holter monitor for 6 days while I worked out, and my heart rate was fine throughout it. So yeah, so it was just like, I just wanted to let you know, I went through the exact same thing. I feel like we're so much going on similar to like the journey that we're on. It's crazy, man.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
I had a podcast the other day with a girl named Savannah, who's a girl that I met in Hawaii 5 years ago, who now lives in Washington, very successful online. And she said something that I think that you'll really appreciate too. And she said, your ideal customer was you 5 years ago. Your ideal customer was you 5 years ago. Answer the questions and put out the valuable information that would answer the questions that you had 5 years ago that you didn't know where to go. That's your ideal customer. And I was like, fuck, that's so good. That's so true, right? It's so powerful because, you know, when you didn't know how many weights you should be lifting, how much cardio you should be doing, how much water you should be drinking, should I be fasting, should I be doing cold water? Like, you already know who your ideal customer are. You are your ideal customer. You live the life the most optimal way that you think that a human should live. Doesn't mean it's exactly correct, but it's exactly what you think is right. And if you can answer those questions, you will find your ideal customer, because you are your ideal customer, right? And then some other thing that I find is, I talk to people all the time, young entrepreneurs, people trying to be a coach, and they won't invest in a mentor. They won't invest in marketing. They won't invest in someone guiding it. You're doing the exact same thing as the customer that won't hire you. You're wondering why the customer won't give you money for the expertise, and you know you could change their life, but then you turn around and do the exact same thing where you're not willing to invest in someone else and try to make it work, somebody that could help you become better. And I feel like you're putting that out in the universe, and you're also giving the exact same example of why that person's not helping you, because they're not ready to invest yet, right? And it's people.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point there, Ryan. I think money it's a promissory note. It's service rendered. It's an exchange of energy, right? And that's when things started to change. Just an exchange of energy, and we can always make more or earn more. I think the only people that make money work in the mint, but it's an exchange of energy. It's a promissory note. And if there's up and coming young online coaches that are listening to this, I look at it as, my old mentor shared three things, and I'll never forget it, about the law of compensation. And that is, number one, the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing you. So if you keep working on those three things, you will excel. But at the same time, you've got to take daily time for self and the essence of who we are as human being. Human being means we're in our beingness, we're being now, we're in the now. And we both struggled with anxiety. We both had, anxiety attacks, and it was because we were always living in the future, and we've had to learn the hard way. And I think that's what we're trying to tell people and spread this message, that we got to take time out for stillness and to be present and to get grounded. And you do it every single day. I do it every single day. If I don't, it's so easy for me to go back to where I was 2 years ago, sitting in the hospital, having to wear a heart rate monitor strap to someone, especially to check my heart to see if I'm healthy. And you mentioned that it feels like you're going to die. It feels like when you're having an anxiety attack and a panic attack. And I wouldn't want to wish it on anybody. So it's so easy for an online coach to go down that road, because we're not there yet. And you can get easily frustrated, and all of a sudden you could be in that same predicament. So I think if there's people listening, is to take time for stillness and to slow down. It's okay. You're not going to miss the parade. You really are not. You're not going to miss it. It's just being okay with the quiet, and being okay with go outside and let the sun hit your eyes, and just to give thanks and to get back. Even though we all know about gratitude and we tell our clients to do it, we have to do it ourselves. We have to practice what we preach. We really do.
No, 100%. And it's important for you to view your past and realize that it's there, and respect that it's there, but leave it behind. And it's important to understand where the ship's going and have a visualization of what relationship do you want, what finances do you want, where are you going with your life, who is the man or the woman that you want to be. But it's also important to take time to say, well, what if tomorrow never comes? Did I even fucking enjoy today? Like, did I even enjoy today? Or did I just worry about yesterday and what the fuck's going to happen tomorrow? So it's very important to try.
Right?
It's not. So why not enjoy today? Yes, we're like, think about, not worry, but think about where you're going, but take the time to enjoy today, at least a part of it. Find something like take a drink of your coffee or the meal you're eating or the conversation with your loved ones or something. Like at least find habits that allow you to enjoy parts of the day if you struggle with it. Right. And I think it's so important, and it's a great message that you're putting out, because it's not the common thing to see. A lot of trainers are just like, find your macros and, you know, follow this and don't overeat and get your steps in. And that's as far as the training goes. Right. And it's so external. It's so rewarded on having a set of abs, when most of the problems, weight problems, people listen, we live in the information world. People know how to fucking eat. People know what to do. You can find it on YouTube. Most of the problems are internal. It's like sabotaging, and you know, there's like you said, it's a paradigm, and it's like habits that were handed over to you from the generation before, from your parents, and you just never did the work to fix it, and you got to like burst out of that, right?
What my question, Ryan, to you is were you happy when you had 21-inch arms? Were you happy when you had a six-pack? Were you happy when you were 3% body fat? Were you happy when you were 270 pounds?
No, man, I wasn't. It's funny, the further I went down that road, I was proud of myself for how hard I worked. So there was some joy in that. But it seemed like the bigger I got, the more unhappy I got, which is because I was like chasing the dragon. It's like the dragon chasing its tail, or the snake that eats its tail. You know, it's all internal. This external thing that I was building and working on was just, I mean, I think it was just me working on my ego and trying to find myself and almost punishing myself to try to learn how to love myself. Like I was just like beating myself up and like trying to grind myself down to the point where I'd learn to love myself. Well, until you really go in and start working on the problems of the past or the things that you don't love about yourself, and looking them dead in the eye and forgiving yourself for the things that aren't your fault and taking accountability for the things that are your fault, having a great physique will never make you happy, or having the money, right? Like it's just, it's not like you, it's nice to have a nice physique and it's nice to be healthy and it's nice to have a lot of money to help people and to do what you want, but it doesn't equate to happiness. It's all in here. It's how you feel about you, you know, and that's why it's so important to add that into the coaching realm. It should be part of the conversation, and you guys are
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah. Happiness is an inside job.
Yeah.
It really is, and this is speaking from two people that have, you know, chased a physique, you know, pretty much for a long period of their life, and it didn't really bring any joy or fulfillment. It just brought more more anxiety and more depression, if you will.
Yeah, 100%. Troy, I've had you for an hour, brother, and this has been the greatest conversation I've had on my podcast. One, because I feel like we're resonated for the journey we're on and we have a bit of the same history. Um, I hate to let you go. I'm trying to keep my stuff at an hour, but I feel like we've got so much value out of this and so much. And I feel like we need to get together soon, dude. I got to get up and see you, because I feel like we got more to talk about just as humans, you know, and I think we're on the same mission, and maybe we can do something together in the future as well.
I'm ready when you are, brother.
What's the future look like for Troy? What's next? What are you doing next?
Next, just give good content, good value. Like go the extra mile. What allow God to work through me, and just to glorify Him through my work. That's where I'm at right now. There's so much more I could add to that, but I think just to be the best human being I can be, and I'm not perfect. You know, I think none of us are perfect, but the goal is to, you know, to get close to that, and to allow, you know, the higher power to be able to work through us freely, and for people, and raise my consciousness. I think that is one thing that we want to do, Jasmine and I, is to keep raising our consciousness to really calibrate higher, so we can keep attracting people into our life that we can serve and do our best work with.
Honestly, I want to thank you for and congratulate you for being on that journey, because we need more people to be consciously moving in the direction that you and Jasmine are going in. And I'm trying to do the same thing, because that's how we're going to change the world. It's just, you can't change the world, but you can change yourself and be so good and become so great and such a positive influence that you start to lift people around you, you know? And I think that's
Conscious
the right
coaching.
way. 100%, bro. Are you guys taking on new clients?
We're not taking on new clients, but I believe that you attract the right clients, or the energy will be put out if you keep doing good work. So we're always looking to serve. I think is the right thing to say.
So both you guys have a great message. You're both doing good work. And whether you're looking for clients or not, I think people should be following your message. Where can people find you at if they want to follow you?
You can find us on Instagram at the Troy Brown, and we just changed our Instagram handle with Apex, our online business, which is Apex Lifestyle, Health and Fitness online. Jasmine is at Jazz Perks, and our current website, which is still in transition, is called apexphysiques.ca, but we will be transitioning it to Apex Lifestyle, Health and Fitness.
Awesome. Awesome. So I've been playing a little game before I say goodbye to people. I have 3 words. I'm going to say one word at a time, and whatever comes to mind, you say, okay? Money.
Service.
Health.
Beingness.
Dreams.
Visualization.
Awesome. I love it, brother. I love it. Thank you so much for your time, man. And I'm excited for people to get, value out of this, because that was the most organic conversation that I've had. I always write out a few things I would like to hit. And literally I looked at my paper and didn't even go over any of them because it just flowed. So, and that's the way a good conversation, a podcast should go. Thank you so much for your time. I'll send you out a message soon. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you for your time, brother.
Appreciate you, man. Richest blessings.
Okay, buddy.
God bless. Take care.